Attention passionate Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on the Pittsburgh Steelers' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Pittsburgh Steelers fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Let's get to the news now, folks. What we're about to discuss here could really shake up the AFC North and honestly, even the entire NFL landscape. The Pittsburgh Steelers, sitting at 3-1 as they head into their bye week, have shown flashes of brilliance, but also some significant vulnerabilities, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And when you look at their current roster, it's clear that the team's depth at wide receiver outside of DK Metcalf just isn't quite enough to support a deep playoff run, especially with the kind of competition they'll face in the postseason. Now, if you're a Steelers fan, you know that having a reliable, dynamic wide receiver is crucial, particularly when you're trying to maximize the talents of a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who's still playing at a high level despite nearing the later stages of his career. But here's the thing. Pittsburgh needs to act quickly before the trade deadline if they want to bolster their receiver core. The NFL trade deadline is always a pivotal moment, and this season, the Steelers have a real opportunity to make a move that could define their season. And I'm talking about the possibility of acquiring a top-tier wide receiver, someone who can step in and immediately elevate the offense. Now, the names floating around are pretty impressive, with Tyreek Hill, Jacoby Meyers, Jerry Jeudy, and the guy at the center of today's story, Chris Olave, being potential targets. Let's focus on Olave for a moment because he's the player who could be a game-changer for Pittsburgh. The New Orleans Saints are in a bit of a rebuild, and with their record at 0-4, it's quite possible they might decide to sell off some of their assets to rebuild faster and acquire draft capital. And Olave, despite some injury concerns in the past, mainly some serious concussions, has been productive this season. He's got 26 receptions, 185 yards, and a touchdown already, showcasing that he can be a consistent threat when healthy. That's the kind of weapon the Steelers desperately need, especially with DK Metcalf drawing a lot of attention on the other side. Now, let's talk about why this potential trade makes so much sense for Pittsburgh. First off, the Steelers' wide receiver room right now, with Ben Skowronek, Scotty Miller, Calvin Austin, and Roman Wilson, just doesn't have that established, reliable number 2 receiver that can consistently get open and make plays. Calvin Austin, yes, he's a deep threat and a good route runner, but he's still developing. Skowronek is excellent at blocking, which is valuable, but he's not exactly a primary target in the passing game. Scotty Miller, while quick, has lacked that extra gear at times, and when you're trying to push the ball downfield with Aaron Rodgers, you need someone who can win those one-on-one battles. And that's where Olave comes in. He's young, talented, and despite his injury history, he's shown he can produce when given the chance. His 26 receptions already this season demonstrate that he's a reliable target, and if he joins the Steelers, he would immediately command attention from defenses. Imagine him on the field with DK Metcalf, 2 speedsters stretching the field, forcing safeties to pick their poison. That kind of vertical threat opens up so much for the entire offense, especially for a quarterback like Rodgers, who thrives when he has accurate, explosive targets to throw to. Of course, the Saints are not just going to give Olave away for nothing. They have some key players with significant trade value, Alvin Kamara, Cameron Jordan, and Olave himself. But Olave, in particular, might be available for a 3rd-round pick, maybe even a 2nd-round pick if a team values him highly enough. That's a relatively affordable price in today's NFL for a player with his potential. The Steelers, with their draft capital, could easily be in the running for such a deal. A 3rd and a 4th-round pick could be enough to get the deal done. And honestly, if that's what it takes, the Steelers should run to the podium without hesitation. Now, thinking about how this fits into the current roster, it's worth noting that the Steelers have some talented defenders leading the charge: TJ Watt, Cameron Hayward, Nate Herbig, Jalen Ramsey, Patrick Queen, and Peyton Wilson. Despite the star power, their defense has been a bit porous at times, giving up some big plays and struggling to close out games. But the main issue right now is on offense. Aaron Rodgers has played well, no doubt about it, but they haven't faced the kind of high-powered offenses yet that will test their limits. Think Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs. When it comes to offensive production, the Steelers need that extra spark, that extra weapon to keep defenses honest and to give Rodgers a true threat on the outside. Listen, I like their running game with Caleb Johnson, Kenneth Gainwell, and Jalen Warren. They're doing their job, but the offense has leaned heavily on quick passes and relies on their running backs to make things happen. That's not sustainable against stronger defenses or in tight playoff games. They need a receiver who can win jump balls, stretch the field, and make plays in tight coverage. Chris Olave fits that mold perfectly. He's young enough to think about the future, not just a short-term fix like a Tyreek Hill trade would be. This is a move that could set up the Steelers for multiple seasons of success if they pull the trigger. And just imagine how this would change the dynamic in the AFC North. The Ravens have their own explosive offense with Lamar Jackson, and the Bengals are always dangerous with their weapons. But if Pittsburgh adds a legitimate number 2 receiver like Olave, it shifts the balance of power. Suddenly, they're not just relying on Metcalf and their defense to win games. They've got another weapon to keep defenses guessing, to make Rodgers even more effective, and to put the Steelers in a better position to challenge for deep playoff runs and ultimately a shot at the Super Bowl. Now, I know some fans might be thinking, is this really going to happen? Will the Saints actually trade Olave? Well, considering their position, it's not out of the realm of possibility. The Saints are in rebuild mode, and with their current record, they might be more inclined to trade assets for draft picks or younger players. Plus, if they see Olave as a player they can move for a decent return, it might be the best move for their future. The Steelers, on the other hand, have the draft capital and the need to make a splash, and this could be the kind of deal that turns their season around. It's a perfect storm of circumstances that could lead to one of the more interesting trades this season. Looking ahead, the Steelers have a tough schedule coming up, and the competition will only get tougher. Adding a player like Olave could be the piece they need to elevate their offense from good to great. It's a strategic move, a statement move, that shows they're serious about competing at the highest level. And for fans, it's an exciting prospect, seeing your team add a young, talented receiver who can grow with Rodgers and help carry the offense into the playoffs and beyond. The potential is there, and all signs point to the fact that the Steelers are at least exploring this possibility. So, what do you think, Steelers fans? Would you love to see Chris Olave in the black and gold? Do you believe this move could be the one that pushes them over the edge? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion is what makes this community great. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, analysis, and all the latest Steelers news. Stay tuned because the best is yet to come, and with the right moves, this team could be on the verge of something special. And now, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news.